I don't know about anybody else. I think it's a nice little joke having those thoroughly amateur title cards for my thoroughly amateur productions here on the Whiskey for Beginners channel. If this is the first video you're seeing on this channel, I'm going to do something that I didn't think to do for the first several and tell you that I'm Robert McKay. I'm not an expert on anything. I am myself something of a beginner in whiskey. I've been drinking whiskey for about 18 months now. And the whole reason for this channel is because when I was very first starting, I couldn't find the kind of information in a single place that I'm putting on this channel. But what this video is going to be is a review. I have here, unfortunately, a plastic pint of Wild Turkey 101 Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And this is a big name whiskey, but it's not all that expensive. This pint cost me $13.49, and I didn't write on here where I got it. I'm just beginning to mark my bottles so that I know at a glance what I've got. I'm using these Pilot silver markers. I first saw them on a video or two from the Garrison Brothers Distillery in Hye, Texas, Hye, High. And I saw them writing on bottles at, what's his name? Not Jim Garrison, Dan Garrison. Writing on bottles, and I wondered, what is there that'll write on a bottle so pretty? And I looked around and found those. So I wrote on here, I bought this on the 13th of February this year. It cost me $13.49. I believe I got this at the Total Wine Uptown store in Albuquerque. And I want to pour just a little bit of it and do a review for y'all. And this whiskey I have reviewed in writing on the distiller.com website. That'll be enough for a review. And in two groups on MeWe.com, if you've never been there. One of those groups is Whiskey and Whiskey, both the Scottish and Irish spellings of it. And the other group is Bourbon Aficionados. And so if you want to see a more in-depth review, you can go to either MeWe or Distiller and read what I have written. In both places, I'm just Robert McKay. Some people, and there's nothing wrong with it, but some people have fancy online handles. I just use my own name. I'm a WYSIWYG guy. What you see is what you get. So, this is Wild Turkey 101. I don't have the mash bill handy. As I say, the detailed reviews are online. But it is 101 proof, which is 50.5 alcohol by volume, if that's what you go by. I think in terms of proof. You tell me an alcohol by volume, I don't know whether it's a lot or a little until I translate it into proof. This is Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It does not have an age statement on the bottle, which means it is at least 4 years old. To be a straight whiskey under American law, has to age at least 2 years. If it is less than 4 years, it has to put the age statement on. So this is at least 4 years. It's a nice, I don't have good facilities here by the computer for checking color, but it's a nice golden color, a little tinge of copper in there maybe. And right off the bat, I'm getting bananas. And for some reason, I seem to get bananas where others don't. There's caramel and butterscotch. So far, it's pretty typical bourbon odors. There's definitely alcohol in there. A little bit of brown sugar, maybe. There's something musty. Maybe I'm getting cornmeal. It's definitely something to do with corn. It's musty and dusty. Maybe dried corn, I don't know, but it is corn of some sort. It definitely got bananas in there. And you might have noticed just now I changed the grip on the glass. I started out always doing this, but I found that this way I can swirl it better, get a better look at the legs, which we're not doing here. Well, I'm not getting anything much in particular else than that, so I'll have a sip of it. Cinnamon, brown sugar. There's some spice in there. I don't recollect whether this is what you'd call a high rye whiskey, a high rye bourbon. But rye is usually the secondary grain in a bourbon. There are also what they call wheated bourbons, which use wheat as the secondary grain. And rye produces a spiciness to the whiskey. There's a little bit of butter there. But I'm going to take a swig of water and clear off my palate. I'm getting something that might be left over from when I brushed my teeth earlier. And things like that can affect how the whiskey tastes. And I have limited space here. You can't see it because the camera's pointing this way, but I'm here at my desk and it's all cluttered with stuff. Let's try another sip here. Well, maybe if you have a glass of wild turkey on the other side of the camera there, it can be let us, but here it's just me. I'm not getting a great deal more than I've already mentioned. There's something in that taste that I can't quite identify. Honey. How could I not recognize honey? I've only been eating honey all my life. But this isn't a hugely complex bourbon. But, excuse me, but it's not bad. And at the end of the day is when I normally drink my whiskey. It's what time is it? It's 11:23 here in Albuquerque right now as I'm recording this, so it's real early in the day for me. And generally, when I come to the whiskey, I've been eating and I've been drinking and I've done this and I've done that, and I think that has affected my palate because even after that swig of water, it's still not tasting quite like I expect wild turkey to taste. But that's not the fault of the whiskey. That's due to the subjective nature of tasting whiskey and the so many factors that can affect how it tastes. You can drink the same whiskey day after day and get a little different experience each time. On the finish, I'm getting definitely the rye spice. There's some honey there. The oak is beginning to come in, and I like oak in my whiskey. This doesn't have a lot of it. And it's kind of medium long, I guess, or on the long side of medium, however you want to phrase it. Again, not the most complex whiskey I've ever had, but this is a good whiskey. I do recommend Wild Turkey 101. It's good stuff. You could do a whole lot worse than drink it.